Hey Sabrine, welcome.
Hey,
Good to see you in both classes today. Get my attendance together here. Morning, good morning. Hey Denim, good to see you back again.
it was connected.
I got my repeat offenders here this morning. Denim and Sabrine back to back. All right, y'all, we'll give it a few more minutes, see if we get anybody else logged on here. Let me send out a reminder. All right. Like I said, a couple more minutes here. Hopefully, we get a few more peeps logged on today. Hello, good morning, welcome. Who's that? Deja, good to see you. All right. Morning again. We'll give it maybe another minute or two and see if we get anybody else logged in. But it is good to see you all this morning. Hopefully, you see my screen share a little bit about what we're doing today. I know I wasn't here for class on Monday, so hopefully, you guys were able to um, take a look at that Canon activity. If not, no worries. How is everybody doing today? Good on this finally beautiful Friday Eve that we have today. All right, y'all, it's about that time. Let's jump into it. Good morning again. Welcome. All right. As you can see from our agenda, we are talking about some poetry stuff today in our project that explores what the canon is, what it means to be in the canon, stuff like that. If you haven't been in class or you missed a few, then again, as always, the best place to go is to the Yes Philly YouTube to watch some of the videos there. Get caught up that way. I will also be in the Summit Lab later today as well. Excuse me. But for now, here is our thought for the day to get us started. All right. What do you think the following quote means? All right. Do you have a different definition for poetry? And if so, what is it? All right. And our quote is from very famous poet Robert Frost. And he says, "Poetry is when an emotion has found its thought, and the thought has found words." So take a few minutes, maybe 2, 3. Tell me, what do you think he means? What is he saying here? When he's describing poetry this way, and do you agree or do you define poetry differently? And if you do, how do you define poetry? I would like you to think about that and respond in the chat for me, please. Again, like I said, take about 2, 3 minutes here with this. Welcome. Amir, welcome. iPhone, whoever you are, welcome to you as well. I can't tell yet, but we are glad to have you here either way. All right, those of you who are just joining us, we are just getting started. Here is our do now question for this morning. This is what we should be thinking about and then responding to in the chat. All right. What do we think the following quote means? And our quote is right here. It says, "Poetry is when an emotion has found its thought and the thought has found words." So what does this mean? What is Robert Frost saying here about poetry? And do you think you have a different definition for poetry? And if so, what is it? Or do you like this definition? Do you agree with him? Right, again, think about that. Respond in the chat when you have a thought. We'll give it a few more minutes here. chat, see if we got anything so far. My screen will work correctly. Oh, there we go. All right, so the chat remains empty, so let's give it maybe another minute or two. I'd like to have at least two responses in here for this. So take another minute or two, think about this, and see what you can come up with. All right. So again, what is Robert Frost saying in this quote? What does he mean when he defines poetry this way? And do you agree, or do you have a different definition of poetry? When if somebody asked you, what is poetry? Would you say something different? And if so, what would that be? So take another minute or two, put it in the chat. I know some of us might be typing a little bit slower, so I apologize if you are working on this diligently. Right, how are we doing here? Are we coming up with anything? Right, still no thoughts in the chat, but do we have anything that we can, if we want to maybe come off mute and answer verbally, that anybody, any thoughts on this? Poetry is when emotion has found its thought and the thought has found words. So what is Robert Frost really, what is he saying here? Is this a good definition of poetry? Do you think we could come up with a better one? What do you guys think about this? How do you guys feel? Or do we still need some coffee this morning still? No thoughts on this at all? Nobody has anything to offer? I don't think so. I think we can come up with something. Let's think of it in a different way. If you were defining poetry, if somebody asked you, what is poetry? Would you say something similar to this, or would you come up with a different definition? Again, you can answer in the chat. You can come off mute. Either one is fine with me as long as we are answering, which nobody has done yet, so I hope we are still out there and alive. Come on, folks. There's no thoughts on this. Nobody has anything to offer, or have we all gone back to sleep? What's the deal today? Again, you guys got to help me, help you. Don't forget. Do we think this definition of poetry is good? Can we come up with a better one? There's no thoughts on this at all. All right, Legends. Well, let's keep moving here because I don't want to fall too far behind. But please, again, hear me say the more we are engaged and participating, the more both you and me will get out of this class. Okay. I know you guys don't want to sit here and watch me wait for you to answer, much like I don't want to sit here and wait for you to answer. So let's make sure we are both helping each other out. Okay. I know it's still early. I know this virtual stuff is tough, but you know, we're a couple months into it now, so you guys should know the deal here. Right. Well, even though we didn't have any thoughts on that question, that is what we are going to talk about today, since the project we are working on in Summit revolves around the canon and the literary canon, what we put into that canon, who gets to decide what goes in there. And again, just as a review, um, from a couple classes ago, we talked about what the canon actually is, meaning, the collection of works that people deem to be the best examples of literature, poetry, fiction, whatever it may be, right? So our final product for this project, what we're eventually going to do is analyze something from pop culture, whether it is a song, a scene from a movie, a play, whatever it is, and make a case as to why that should be, considered in the canon. Um, but before we do that, we have to analyze the stuff that's kind of already in there. So we're gonna do a little bit of practice with that today, and focus on word choice, right, and how word choice can affect um, the way we read, the meaning that different words have, and things of that nature. So we're going to do that by looking at um, a poem by uh, Billy Collins. Okay. So I'm going to share a link for this poem in the chat so you can read it, follow along, and then I'm also going to share my screen. All right. So you can click that link to follow along. And like I said, I'm also going to share my screen. So you can see it that way as well. All right, so if you click that link, it should take you to a page that looks like this. All right. And you should see this poem called Introduction to Poetry by Billy Collins, right? I'll give it maybe another 30 seconds for people to get there if we are still pulling it up. All right, so we're gonna do a couple different things with this poem today. The first thing we're gonna do is just read through it once or twice as is. Okay. And then I have a version of the poem pulled up where there is a picture for each kind of line or stanza. So that can give us an example to see, like, all right, what do we visualize with each line or each stanza, um, as a way to remember, like, different words can have different meanings, different effects. Okay. So, are there any brave volunteers to read this poem for everyone if they have it pulled up? Or will I be reading this myself today? All right, I will take your radio silence as I will read it, which is no problem whatsoever. Okay. Um, so again, if you have this link pulled up, it says Introduction to Poetry by Billy Collins. Right? I asked them to take a poem and hold it up to the light like a color slide, or press an ear against its hive. I say drop a mouse into a poem and watch him probe his way out, or walk inside the poem's room and feel the walls for a light switch. I want them to water ski across the surface of a poem, waving at the author's name on the shore. But all they want to do is tie the poem to a chair with rope and torture a confession out of it. They begin beating it with a hose to find out what it really means. Okay. And Kian has just joined us. Good morning to you. All right. So obviously this poem's pretty short. So I'm going to read through that one more time again. As I'm reading, I want you to think about some of the words that Billy Collins uses here and the feelings, the emotions that those words convey, right? And maybe why he's using those specific words, maybe what he's trying to say, what this poem means here. Okay. So one more time. And Keon, if you're just joining us and you want to follow along, I will the link in the chat again in case you don't see it. Oh, excuse me. All right. I asked them to take a poem and hold it up to the light like a color slide, or press an ear against its hive. I say drop a mouse into a poem and watch him probe his way out, or walk inside the poem's room and feel the walls for a light switch. I want them to water ski across the surface of a poem, waving at the author's name on the shore. But all they want to do is tie the poem to a chair with a rope and torture a confession out of it. They begin beating it with a hose to find out what it really means. Okay? So before we move on to the kind of picture guided version of this poem, are there any thoughts off the top of your head right now as to what Billy Collins might be saying here, what this poem might mean? And I'll put that in the chat as well. But did anything jump out? Did any words or phrases jump out that maybe gave you a clue as to what he might be talking about in this poem, what he might be trying to say? Any thoughts from anyone? Deja, Kian, Sabreem? what his feelings about poetry might be, what his feelings about um, people who read poetry might be. Did any of that jump out at us yet? Or do we need to dig a little deeper, do a little bit more research here yet? What do you guys think? Is there anyone alive out there today? No? Who we lost? Keon. Well, hopefully it is a connection issue. We get him back. All right. Well, if there's nothing that jumps out to us right away, we are going to try and look at the poem in another way to kind of further the idea that certain words we use can convey certain pictures or images. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to do, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to put up the poem again, kind of line by line, and there's going to be a different picture next to each line. What I want you all to do in the chat is just tell me whether you agree with that picture or you think there should be a different picture to represent what that line means. Okay, so you can just say yes or no in the chat, but if you say no, be prepared to tell me why you think it should be a different picture. All right, now all we're doing is putting yes or no in the chat. So I should hopefully see some responses from at least one or two of you, since all we're doing here is typing yes or no for each thing in the chat. So again, please help me help you and not let this class drag on horrifically. And let's get a little action going here today. Okay, I know you guys can do it. So I'm going to share my screen. And again, for each line that I put up, you tell me, yes, you agree with that picture, or no, maybe it should be a different picture to represent that line of the poem. Okay? As you can see, every slide in this presentation includes one stanza of the poem. Illustrations are included to help you understand the imagery of the word. So again, our whole focus here is word choice, right? And do certain words convey certain meanings? Do other words convey different meanings? Things like that, right? So here's our first stanza. I asked them to take a poem and hold it up to the light like a color slide, right? And here is the image that we have going along with it. So tell me in the chat, yes, you think this image works to go along with this stanza, or no, there might be a better image or a different image. What do you think? Yes, we think this image works for this stanza, or no, there could be a better image, a better picture to go along with this stanza. What do you think? Tell me in the chat, yes or no, or if it's easier, you can come off mute and answer me that way too. But hopefully there is someone out there who can answer something this morning. Come on, y'all. We gotta help each other out here. Nothing, no thoughts on this. Yes, we like this picture to go along with these lines, or do we think there could be a better one? Again, we can answer in the chat. We can come off mute. All right. Ladies and gents, also remember, part of you, 40% of your grade is attendance. Attendance also includes participation and engagement. So if there's no proof that you guys are actually here and engaging, then there's no proof for me to give you attendance for today. So keep that in mind. Again, I want to help you guys, but you guys got to help me as well. The more we each put in, the more we each get out. So what do we think? Yes, this picture goes well with this stanza, or no, maybe there could be a different picture. I asked them to take a poem and hold it up to the light like a color slide. All right, well, maybe this one is something else. So I'm going to move on to the next stanza, and hopefully we get some engagement there. But ladies and gents, again, I really don't want to, but if I have to, mark everybody as absent today, even though you guys are logged in just to get the point across, then unfortunately that's what I might have to do. But I know you guys are more than capable of responding, so I don't have to resort to those efforts, nor do I want to. But we got to be having a conversation here, not just me talking at a screen. All right. Here is our next stanza. All right. So our first one, I asked them to take a poem and hold it up to the light like a color slide, right? Or press an ear against its hive. And here's the image we have for this stanza. So again, yes, do we agree this is a good picture to go along with these words, or no, maybe there could be a better picture? Do we think this picture best represents this stanza? Yes or no? What do we think? Yes, this picture goes well with this stanza, or no, there could be a better picture. Tell me in the chat, or come off mute, please. Any thoughts for this one? Come on. The longer we go without anybody participating, the more inclined I am to just mark everybody absent for today. I gotta work with you guys a little bit, but y'all gotta work with me too. You know that. What do we think? Simple yes or no? Yes, this picture goes well with this stanza, or no, maybe there could be a better picture. All right. Well, thank you for at least responding, Deja. I appreciate it. All right. Deja said yes, and that, and I see it says you are listening, but can't do anything because you're feeding the baby. All right. I do appreciate that, and I know everybody's got stuff going on while we're in class, but you remember, if we're in class, we got to be in class, not just have class on and then do something else. Because if that's what we're doing, I don't know if you're here or not, so I can't mark you here or not if I don't know you're here. But I appreciate your response, Deja. Thank you. So Deja said yes, this is a picture that goes well with the stanza. That is good. Anybody else have any other thoughts now that I know there's at least one of us live this morning? So do we all agree with Deja that this is a good picture for this line, or could there maybe be a different one? What do we think? Anyone else with a thought? Keon, Denim, Sabrine. Yes, we like this picture with this line. No, we think there could be a better one. What do we think? All right, well, let's jump to the next one, see if that sparks any more thoughts. All right. I say drop a mouse into a poem and watch him probe his way out. And here's the picture we have to go along with this one. So, do we think this picture goes well with this stanza? Yes or no? Thoughts on this slide? Yes, no? What do we think? Anyone? I know Deja was nice enough to answer last time. She has her hands full with the baby, so who can help her out and answer this time? Yes, we like this picture for this stanza. It goes well, or could there maybe be a better one?
No, I don't really like it
You don't like this picture for this stanza, Deja? Why not?
because it's just like it looked weird. Like I don't
Okay,
know.
the picture looks weird, but do we think that it represents what the stanza is saying? Well, though, so the
Well,
stanza.
yeah, it represents because the you see the mouse trying to find his way out, but like
Okay, good.
they
So
could have
that's
used like something like they could have used like a they should have used like grass or something like no
so like because the mouse is trying to find his way out of the grass.
yeah like a maze though like a maze drawing though.
Well, that's what this is. This is a maze.
I know, but like with grass.
Oh, I gotcha. I see what you're saying now. Yeah.
Yeah,
So that would be it would be a little bit easier to understand, like he's trying to find his way out.
yeah.
All right, cool. That's good though. So that's a good point. Like maybe the picture
Cause
itself looks
it just
a
looks
little
like he's
weird.
just trapped in there.
Right. So just like maybe some people can be trapped inside the meaning of a poem when they're trying to figure it out. So
Yeah.
it looks like this is a good match. All right, good job. Thank you. All
You're welcome.
right, here is our next stanza. Or walk inside the poem's room and feel the walls for a light switch. And here's the picture we have to go along with this stanza. So what do we think for this one? Yes, it's a good match, or no, there could be a better picture. All right, somebody that we haven't heard from yet who can help us out with this one, maybe. Or walk inside the poem's room and feel the walls for a light switch. And this is the picture that we have. Do we think this picture matches well with this stanza, or could there be a better one? What do we think? Any thoughts in the chat? Come off mute. Walk inside the poem's room and feel the walls for a light switch. So, I mean, to me, it looks like this match is pretty good. This picture, because in the picture, the person's turning on a light switch, and he's saying sometimes when we're trying to figure out the meaning of a poem, it can feel like the same way. We're kind of walking into the room, feeling around, like, oh, where's the lights, and then we flick them on. So let's see what we can figure out, if we can come up with anything for the next one. I want them to water ski across the surface of a poem. Sorry, I'll let that disappear for a sec. I want them to water ski across the surface of a poem, waving at the author's name on the shore. And here's the image we have for this one. So what do we think for this one? Yes, no? This image represents the stanza well, or could there maybe have been a better one? What do we think? Do we like this one? We like this picture and this stanza. It's a good match. Or could there be a different one? I want them to water ski across the surface of a poem, waving at the author's name on the shore. Any thoughts for this one? Still nothing in the chat, but I mean, I think we have the water skier here, so that matches. Maybe we could have had the water skier waving, because he's saying, I want them to wave at the author's name on the shore. So he's thinking of it like, okay, when we're trying to analyze a poem and somebody's reading this poem, I want them to be like a water skier, and they're water skiing on the poem and they're waving at the author's name. So it's kind of like a back and forth, right? So maybe I would have changed this picture a little bit, but all right. Now, here's our next one. But all they want to do is tie the poem to a chair with rope and torture a confession out of it. All they want to do is tie the poem to a chair with rope and torture a confession out of it. And here's the picture that we have to go along with this stanza. So again, what do we think for this one? Yes or no? Do we like this picture? Do we think it's a good representation of this stanza? Or could there be a better one? What do you think? Anything in the chat or can answer over our mics? There we go. She's back. What do we think for this one? Yes, this picture works with this stanza, or no, there could be a better one. Anybody else alive out there? This is going to be my final warning before I just simply mark everyone who has not participated today as absent, since I have no proof whether you are really here or not if you are not answering or letting me know. So it says, they want to tie the poem to a chair with rope. So we do see somebody's hands tied. They're sitting in a chair. There's rope there. So I think we're getting all of this. Maybe we could have also had, for me, what else could we have had in the picture? So we have the chair, the rope, they're tied up, right? But what other words do we see specifically in the last line here that we could have also had in this picture? Anybody who kind of knows what I'm trying to get at here? We can see there's one word that's bolded in that last line. So do we think we could have incorporated that into the picture as well? What am I talking about here? Anybody pick up on this? So that word would be confession, right? So that's the only thing I would have changed is maybe, a picture of like an interrogation room where like somebody's trying to get somebody to confess, all right? Because what he's saying here is, when somebody reads a poem, I want them to do all these other things. I want them to be a mouse. I want them to flip on a light switch. I want them to be water skiing. But instead, all they usually do is try to, they tie a poem to a chair, try to get a confession at it, meaning they just kind of try to force, a meaning out of a poem that might not be there, right? And like he says in the last stanza, they begin beating it with a hose to find out what it really means. So here's our last stanza and our last picture. So what do we think for this one? Yes, this is a good picture for this stanza, or no, there could be a better one. What do we think? Last one here. Anybody out there who has any thoughts on this? All right, well, we do see the hose here, right? So we got that matched up, but it says they begin beating it with a hose to find out what it really means. So maybe we could have, it probably wouldn't have been a nice picture, but you'd have somebody maybe like holding the hose, like they're gonna whip it or do something like that, because the whole point of this poem is, our poet Billy Collins is saying, when people try to analyze a poem, a lot of the times they treat it like an interrogation, and they try to beat a confession out. They try to beat a confession out of it. They try to beat it with a hose, meaning they try to squeeze a meaning or a message or a theme out of it that might not be there, rather than just kind of like reading the poem and taking it in for what it is. Right? And I know I've done that on occasion, when trying to analyze poems and stuff, like I think there's a meaning there that maybe there's really not, and you try to find a way to kind of force it, but who knows? All right. Ladies and gents, all right, here is the deal. So we have less than 5 minutes left. I have only heard from Deja so far today. So as far as I'm concerned for today, Deja is the only one that I'm going to mark as being here. And again, I don't love doing that, but like I said, attendance is 40% of your grade, but part of attendance is, engagement and actually participating. Okay. So if none of you are doing that, there's no way for me to know whether you're really here or you've logged into class and gone back to sleep. Okay. And if that's the case, then obviously, it's not fair for me to mark those people here as well as people who are actually here and actively engaging. Okay. So, if you need to let this be an
Hey, bro, you
example this
can't do
morning
that,
for you
bro.
guys, and I would have liked to, um,
You can't do that. Yeah, Marcus.
oh, well, now miraculously, we have the ability to speak and participate.
Bro, we don't have no. There's no rule that we have to participate.
There is 100% that rule, Amir. We told you guys that in the beginning of the
Why
term.
nobody? Why
You
nobody?
have to participate in class. Whoever told you that is lying.
Why nobody else gotta say we gotta participate in class? Miss Christina don't say that. Hicks don't say that. Frank don't say that. We don't have to participate in class.
So if you just show up and do nothing and don't engage or answer questions or anything like that, then I just assume that you're actually there and you
She
haven't
going she going to ask at the end of the
gone left.
class if we still
Like,
there, and if we don't answer at the end of the class, then she gonna mark us absent.
that's
You can't mark us absent if we join the class.
But what I'm saying to you, Mayor, is if you join the class and I don't hear from you all class, and then I mark everybody here, how do I know that you were really here or you just kind of logged on and then left? You get what I'm saying? And the only reason I am sure that is if you guys are answering questions and participating and like being engaged. And so if you guys aren't doing that, then I don't know if you're here. I'm not saying I want to mark you guys absent. I don't want to at all. But if that's the only way for me to get the point across that, you can't just log on and be silent. We actually got to engage. Just like if we were in the building, you wouldn't just sit in the classroom and not say anything the whole time. Then maybe that's what I have to do. You get what I'm saying? I'm not doing it because I want to be, mean to you guys. That's the opposite of what I want to do. But I can't continue to, just do a whole lesson to myself or to one other person when there's 5 people logged on in the class. You know what I'm saying? And if you remember at the assembly at the beginning of the term, when Miss Rich was going over all of the stuff in the handbook and all that stuff, we did mention that like you can't just do the work on Summit and not come to class. You got to actually come to class. But if you come to class, you actually have to be engaged in the class. Just like if we were in the building, if you come into class in the building, you would have to be engaged in class there. You can't just like sleep or not talk or do anything like that. Okay. And I know that your other teachers feel the same way. So this is just kind of my general, hopefully one time only reminder of that for you guys. All right. Now, I will say if I am telling you guys something different than you are hearing from other teachers, I will make sure I get with them so that all the teachers are on the same page. But I will mark everybody here for today. But I hope that you guys will try and be a bit more, you know, engaged next class when we come back on Monday. Because like I said, the more both myself and you guys put into the class, the more we both get out of it. But I'm certainly not just gonna like go through a whole PowerPoint by myself with nobody answering and participating, because number one, nobody learns that way, and number two, um, that's not what I am here to do. I'm here to help you guys learn, pass the class, get your credits, and graduate. But I can only do that so much, and then you guys got to put in effort on your end as well. All right. So what I would have liked to do today is finish this poem up and then done some practice with word choice on Summit in an activity, but we will just start there next class and hopefully be able to get caught up and get that done. And that's what we'll start with next class, since we are about out of time today. All right. So I apologize that we kind of had to take a negative vibe towards the end, but hopefully on Monday we can come back and be a little bit more engaged, do a bit of a better job. All right. If you want to come see me in the Summit Lab later today to get caught up, please feel free. I'll be in there from 1 to 3. It's the same link they used for this class. All right. So if there's no questions, then that's it for today. I'll hang in the chat for about another minute or two. But if not, you guys are good to go. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Mr. V,
What's up, Deja?
I do need help with my creative writing. Don't I got you for 2 classes, right? Like English 4 and creative writing. All right. So yeah, I need help with both of those classes actually.
Okay. If you come to the Summit Lab today or tomorrow, then I can help you out in there.
All right, I'm gonna just come tomorrow because I got a job interview today. So
all right. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
All right, cool. So just to answer your question, I don't know if you'll necessarily fail, but you definitely will not earn as good of a grade as you can if you are doing your work and also participating in class, right? Because there's 3 parts of your grades, right? There is like having all your checkpoints and stuff done. There's the final product on Summit, and then there is attendance. But attendance doesn't just mean like, okay, I'm logging on to class. Part of it is also participation and stuff, because again, we want to make sure that you're not just like logging on to class and then going to sleep or leaving the room or something like that. All right. So, yes, you can make sure you're doing the work on Summit and being caught up, but you also want to make sure that you are coming to class and participating in class. And if you're not doing that, while you might, get credit for doing all the work on Summit, you're going to lose points because you're not like participating and engaging in class. And so maybe when you could have earned an A or a B, instead you might earn like a C or a D, you know what I mean? But if your work on Summit is a little bit behind, then that might push you from like a D to an F, you know what I mean? So there's a possibility you will fail, but it's not automatic, but know that like it does count. Right? Did that answer your question? I hope it did. Did that answer your question, Deja? All right, cool. Good, I'm glad. All right, if you have any other questions or are concerned about anything else, you can always shoot me an email or come talk to me in the Summit Lab too. All right. Have a good weekend, everyone. Stay safe, and I will see you all Monday.